All right, hola, you guys. I think we're on part 7 of surviving with a narcissist. How I became a single parent. Um, we've already talked about what a narcissist is. We talked about what what was it about me that attracted a narcissist. Basically, I was giving the narcissist all the green flags that he was looking for. We got into the relationship. Like I said, we had made a commitment to each other. I had one child. Did not know I could have any children. Of course, reversed my PCOS. Talked about that and ended up pregnant with my oldest child, which is nothing but a blessing. Then during the course of that relationship, I had made the decision that we were just gonna remain committed in the relationship because I didn't want him to be raised in a single parent home. Yeah, so nothing about the narcissist, nothing about him changed at all. He still maintained, he was still doing the same old. Still no accountability. Still taking advantage of the situation. Still trying to punish me in small ways. Still trying to make me feel bad for all the things that made me me. In the very beginning of our relationship, he was full of compliments. And he was, full of all this help and, making all these promises. And, we were setting all these goals, writing out lists and things. But there was never, ever any follow through. If there was any follow through, it was only on my part. Like, we could sit down and brainstorm and come up with, like, all the best ideas, business plans, like, all kind of things. But there was never any follow through on his part. It all ended up being on me. So, it does no good to come up with a lot of plans and a business plan if I'm the only person that's willing to follow through. Like, I'm not physically able to do a lot of things, but my brain still works, so I was able to do, all the things I was able to do, paperwork, book work, filling out forms, phone calls, networking. I was able to do all those things, but when it comes to the physical part of things, that's where he was supposed to come in, and he would not follow through every time. So that is a bit frustrating. When you're in a partnership or a relationship with a person who, you sit down and you have a great conversation, have a great meeting, and write all these things down, and then it's like everybody gets up from the meeting like, yeah, woohoo, we're about to go do this, and then 2 or 3 days go by and it's just like the conversation or the meeting never happened. On the other side of things, like I said, everybody from the outside looking in, they felt like we just had everything all together, everything was going great, but on the inside of the relationship, basically we were just living together, and I was only there for the sake of my child, and plus I didn't think I would ever have another child. I wasn't letting him touch me, in so many words, so I didn't think there was a possibility. And I don't know if I said this already, but he was a licensed massage therapist, a licensed barber, and he also had a plumbing license as well. So he had all these different skills. Oh, he was also working for us at the company that I was a manager of. He was also working for us too. So he had a lot of skills, but he just didn't like anybody telling him what to do. And he claimed to be to practice Islam, but he didn't even follow what the Quran said. Like, it was like he had his own version of everything. You could get in a conversation with him about anything, and he felt like he knew more about it than you. So even with me, I have 2 degrees. I have a degree in business and a degree in early childhood education. He even felt like he knew more about business than me. He felt like he knew more about children than me because he had other children. But I would, remind him that just because you have children, that doesn't mean you know more about children, because you have no experience at all. Like, you weren't in those other children's lives the way you should have been. And I was like, God has given you literally he gave you a 3rd opportunity, to do the right thing and do right by all of your children. But of course, one of his characteristics was he didn't feel like anybody could tell him more about anything than what he already knew. He would act like he was willing to learn new things, but I think it would just go one ear and out the other. That's what I think. It went in one ear and out the other. He would sit there and listen to you, and with such interest and intrigue on his face, and he would ask you like the most brilliant questions, but he wasn't really paying attention, and he wasn't gonna use any of the things that you talked about. He just wanted you to think he was, just long enough for you to leave him alone about the subject, and then he was right back to doing the same old stuff again. It was almost like talking to a brick wall. So here are some things that I learned. I wanted to make this the end of this video so I can move on to another topic. Some things I learned from surviving being in a relationship with a narcissist. These are some things that hopefully will help you too. The importance of boundaries. Setting and maintaining firm boundaries is crucial for protecting your mental and emotional well-being. Narcissists often push boundaries to maintain control and dominance. Learning to say no and enforce limits help you retain your autonomy and self-respect. Like I said before, because of my childhood history and my childhood trauma, I had a problem with setting boundaries and saying no. So anytime a person is a victim of abuse, they have problems with setting boundaries, and they also have problems when it comes to saying no. So do not do that if you are in a relationship. Don't start that. Don't make the habit of, oh, we're compromising, but you're the only person. Compromise is not when one person always gives in, and compromise is not when you tell a person no and then they do something anyway, even if you tell them no. That's not compromise. That's basically them taking advantage of the situation and like basically bulldozing right over your boundary. So do not do that. If you set a boundary, you need to stick to your boundary. And if that person continues to overstep the boundaries that you're setting, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you or that you need to relax the boundary. That means you need to step away or walk away from that person. And that is what I didn't do. And the only reason why I didn't walk away is because, like I said, I was trying to, stick around for the sake of my child. And now you see I have two children. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And I'm glad that the relationship ended. He actually ended the relationship by walking away. He decided to leave for whatever reason. His reason was invalid. It was an invalid reason, and he thought that I was going to be like his other female friends or other mothers of his children, like I was going to beg him back. And he also felt like, well, if I leave her, then she'll be stuck doing everything by herself, and then she'll basically try to beg me to come back. And I guess he felt like that was his way of like trying to make me do what he wanted. But that didn't work with me, and I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad I set that firm boundary, because I feel like once you leave, I'm not going to ask you to come back. I've always been like that. Even with all the people pleasing and all the, other things about myself that I needed, to change. I have never been a person to beg anybody to do anything. So whenever he left, I did not beg him to come back, and that is why the relationship ended. I had to figure out a way to get things done on my own. And look, here we are, 2 years later, I think? Yeah, because my baby is 3. 2 years later, because he left when my baby was 6 months. My baby was 6 months old. Matter of fact, my baby has no clue who he is unless I tell him. He has no memories of him. The oldest one does, but the baby doesn't. So, just like I did, there's other steps. So I guess there will be another part to this. Because that is the most important thing, is the boundaries. I think make sure you stick to your boundaries, whatever boundaries you set. If you set a boundary, if anything's make you feel uncomfortable, make sure you stick to that boundary. And if they decide to cross that boundary, you need to leave the first time, not the second, third, fourth, or fifth time. You need to leave or make them leave the first time, even if it puts you in a bind. At the end of the day, your mental health and your physical well-being is more important than all of the other reasons that you're choosing to stay. Like, even with me being a disabled veteran, my health may have deteriorated, but my mental is a whole lot better than it was 2 years ago. Like, I don't have the constant migraines. So just like I survived, you can too. Stay tuned for the next part. you.